camera because I haven't got
it.
Is that all right?
Okay? Well, we're live. You told me too late. Yeah. So anyway, we're live now. So hello everyone. Great. But I'm with Alex Reid now and Jack Barnes. So I hope this goes all right now. People let me know if this starts echoing because we're explaining to people what's been happening on YouTube with StreamYard. Certain phones have been causing terrible reverbs and echoing all through the lives, and this has been going on for over a week now. So people keep me posted, and also the figures are up, down, up, down, up, down. No one knows what's going on. But anyway, I've invited Jack on and Alex on to talk about the work that they do for trying to work towards parents and children's rights. Jack has had many, many years of campaigning and has had a lot of success. And I want you to talk about that with Alex as well, about the success you've had, helping other people as well, parents and people who were abused when they were youth and all that. And then Alex will tell you about his, but I'm going to leave the floor to you two now to discuss this. And I'll pop in now and again if I want to ask a question or if someone puts a question in the chat. So I'm going to go out.
Can you hear me, Jack?
Yeah, I can hear you, Alex.
So, Jack, where are you from?
Me mum. No, I'm from Liverpool.
Not from
I'm based in Essex. I'm from Liverpool, Toxteth, but I'm based in Essex.
What's your story, Jack? Just for the record, I've never met Jack. We've Anne kindly invited us both on, said we could scratch heads together, so we do similar stuff. So I know a little bit about you, but let's hear it from the horse's mouth. What's Jack all about?
Well, I was a scaffolder, and then I found my ways of coping and getting through and closing doors on childhood abuse. And I was just going to work every day. The old school scaffolders were keeping me out of prison, keeping money in my pocket. And I just thought that was my life. And then I met my missus, and I just opened up to her and just, give her that go, and allowed myself to be told off and, just be that man for her. And then obviously she got pregnant, and then social services came into our lives and took the baby off us. We was pushed into a forced adoption case.
Why? Because
I was at work as scaffolding in London. Cheryl was on her way to work to Greg's, and she was mugged on the way to work, but she was pregnant.
Mugged?
Yeah, she was mugged in the street by the bus stop, or on the way to the bus stop. She just left our flat to go to work and got mugged on the way to work. So the ambulance got called and all the rest of it. She went to check, make sure the baby was okay.
Was she hurt?
Sorry?
Was she hurt?
Yeah, she just had to go to the hospital. She was shaking and stuff, scared. That was it really. She went to hospital and had the baby, made sure the baby's heart monitor, put that on her, and make sure she was all okay. And then we heard nothing of it. We just left the hospital, carried on with our lives. And then when the baby was due to be delivered, social service came round and said, we've got concerns because we're not protecting the future risk of our unborn baby.
And what was their case? All right, but why? What are you saying? We're great guys. We're great parents. What are they saying about you?
Well, it was social services then took that opportunity to tell us not to leave the hospital when the baby was born. If we was to leave the hospital, then they would phone the police. They come into the hospital ward saying that I was a cage fighter, I've got mental health problems, I've got anger issues, I can't control my anger, provoking me in the hospital to react. I don't know. But obviously I kept my cool, and then I ended up going into court.
Did they interview you then? Did they interview you?
Yeah, the social worker said, I would like to said to my missus, I'd like to see Jack at the council. I just want to put a face to the name. So I went along to the council, and I didn't know at that point that the woman I was speaking to was the same woman that I was telling about all the child abuse. She was my social worker when I was a child. So she just wanted to put a face to the name in the council. So I've gone to the council, and she said, yeah, I know all about you, this, that, and the other. And it didn't twig to me until after the court case that I realised it was the social worker when I was a child, who was the same social worker who's taking my child. So there was holding me to account.
Give us a bit of history about what happened when you were a child, then, with regard to this social worker. Why did you have a social worker back then?
Well, I was put into a Lower Lee boarding school, the House of Horrors. I was put into Lower Lee boarding school as a housing crisis. I was telling all the people I needed to tell, my parents, social services, foster parents, about the abuse I was going through, but I was constantly sent back to Lower Lee to be abused more. So we're talking about 7 years of systematic, widespread, all forms of abuse here, of many, many boys. It's not just me, Alex. And when I was telling the social worker, and I wasn't listened to, and then I was put into a children's home in Runcorn, Cheshire.
From what ages?
13. 12, from the age of 5 up until I was 12, 13.
I just want to point in. Just want to point in somewhere here, because I think this is vital to point out. I know Lower Lee very well. It's not far from me, is it, Jack? It's not much of a distance at all. I never knew until I met Jack that this had been going on. This is how good they keep these things quiet and covered up. And Jack has proven beyond doubt what he's saying is true. But believe me, people, that's not far from me, and I don't know anyone that knew that was going on. It was covered up that well. So I thought I'd just point that out.
Is it still going on?
The school's been closed, and they've built big lavish homes on the site. It's right opposite Strawberry Fields. Now, while I was going through this abuse, Alex, I actually met John Lennon's wife. I used to shout across the wall to her when she used to come visit Strawberry Fields every year. And I used to beg her to take me home. And she shouted to us, I'm going to come back and get you. Never
Yuko.
did.
You Colono?
Yeah.
How old are you? How young are you, Jack?
I'm 50 in May, so I'm 49.
Nifty. Sorry, I'm asking you lots of questions, but I'm just so intrigued. I'll shut up a bit. Carry on.
Throw them at me, Alex. Throw them at me. You know, it's a so obviously.
I mean, Jack, get on to the part about, because I think this is where it gets fascinating, and you've got to cover, of course, the ground where you have had huge success, and that's what's so impressive about you. It's not like you're just making claims, but what you do is get on to how you got your daughter back, which was the thing that I just made your.
Well, I'll talk about my son. I'll talk about my son, Anne, because my son's whereas Alex, a lot of stuff what Alex does is based around what I've done with my son. Now, I had a relationship with my missus, Alex. Yeah, my son's he's 13. I've been with my missus 20 years. My missus is not the mother to my son. My missus went out with a woman before she met me. So obviously I've got with my missus, and obviously because she likes women, obviously I've let it happen. I was persuaded for sleeping with her, joining in. Which I did with a condom on, but what she did was burst the condom and got pregnant, and then come at me for maintenance and started trying to divide me and my missus. So I took her to the civil courts, and I'm not on the birth certificate. She messed and mucked me about regarding the birth certificate, getting my name on it. She had me going down the birth and register office, and then when I'm getting there saying no and I'm not doing it, so I said, right, I'm going to court with you. So I went to the civil courts, and she said some barbaric things about me, saying that I broke her nose. She had ambulances called out for her. She didn't know the process of the civil courts, but I did. So I let her say exactly what she wanted, knowing what I'm going to be saying in the civil courts, because I know all their medical records are going to be brought up, all their police incidents are going to be brought up, and mine, you know, so I know the process. So I didn't go at her until she was on oath. So I had everything in the civil courts ready to go at her. I kept everything to myself. So then I called for her medical notes. I just discredited the whole statement.
Can I just stop for a second? What was her motive? So you had a relationship with these two girls, right? And one you're more close with, and the other, the mother of your child. It was a bit of just fun, supposed to be just a bit of fun, but
between the ladies, yeah.
Ended up in. I wouldn't call it an accident. It sounds like it was purposefully done to get her pregnant.
Criminal act. So it's a criminal act.
So if she's done that, what's her motive? I mean, why? To
either get me or split us up, or she threatened with maintenance because I was.
Was it a business transaction to her, thinking I can get a few quid? Because I hate to say this, in my experience, which I'll come on to later, I've seen this happen a lot. The woman, they can get a lot of money from the system. And if the man doesn't pay, the system will pay. Yeah, a lot of maintenance, CMS, all that stuff.
Well, it goes on from that, Alex. She because she realised she weren't going to split me and my missus up. She then started coming at me saying, I'm going to get maintenance off you. I'm going to take you to the cleaners, threatening me. You're not seeing him, this, that, and the other. So I couldn't handle it no more. So obviously, I've gone through the civil courts. I've got full residency, my son. My missus got full PR for my son. She got contact at a contact centre. Prove what you're
parental responsibility for anyone who doesn't know. That's basically, if you're not on a birth certificate, you can have parental responsibility, which gives you the rights to act as a parent to make the choices. Sorry, Jack, just for my guys who might not know.
Well, the thing is, I got full residency, and then obviously I've put in for maintenance, and she hasn't been paying me maintenance for years, Alex. She's got to pay £5 a fortnight, and she's in debt to me for £4,500. How's that right? Because this lady's never going to get a job. So where she's accumulated rent arrears and council tax arrears, they can only make so many deductions from her benefit from the DWP that she gets.
Yeah.
So the council take their money, and the child and the maintenance service come second. So these children in society are suffering big time. And when I'm seeing men committing suicide and climbing up the walls and getting put into prison because of maintenance, it's pure misandrous. That's what it is.
Well, say that that's a word I don't use. Misandrous.
Yeah, it's the opposite. It's the opposite to misogynistic.
Oh, there you go, misandrous. That's the word of the day. Misandrous. You
misandry. Misandrous. Yeah.
Got you.
So obviously, I'm seeing all these men who I help try and get contact in the civil courts.
Yeah.
They're some of them are suicidal, Alex, because of this maintenance, and they're giving up jobs they absolutely love because they can't afford to pay all that maintenance, pay rent, get to work, have food. They just can't do it.
For a second, say some of them. You probably know the stats. It's reported 3, but there's also unofficial reports, 5 to 7 suicides every single day, directly related to family court, social services, child maintenance.
I've lost a lot of followers.
It can't be sustained. It's a national security risk. It's destroying not just our country, many countries around the world. Sorry, I carry on.
The thing is that I campaign hard, Alex, expert by experience, and I do believe that coming at this with a solution, which is police community support social workers working out of impact centres, preventing future risk of harm, keeping families together. So the police community support social workers in the impact centres would uphold the orders made by the court, contact orders, because at the minute they're just false promises, and men are seen as walking wallets. You've got to pay to go back to the family court. Oh, she's failed me, contact, etc. And they're just false promises, these contact orders, because when they go to the police, they say it's a civil matter. Yeah. You can't have it both ways. You can't say if you don't pay your maintenance, it's criminality.
It's interesting that I look after. I've got the Bob Reid Foundation, named after my father, to look after parents going through the family courts after having lots of pain and misery there, and trying to make sense and reason of all this pain and suffering. If I can help other people, it gives me a bit of a purpose. So we see such horrible things going on in the family courts. I've lost my train of thought. What was I saying? Where were we? What were you just saying?
We'll keep off them protein drinks.
Oh, yeah. Just had a workout. That's been the symbolic glue that's held my life together. Training. I get so stressed. As I've got so much going on in my mind, it's difficult to get all this information out at once.
Brain explosion.
Yeah, it will come back to me in a second. It's a common trait of mine. I lose my track and then it'll just start firing again. I've lost what I was saying. Carry on, Jack.
So yeah, I come massively with a solution, sensible, costed solution, to keep money within the service. So I can actually sit here and say that Kafkas have actually broken the law against me. Social services have also been in the civil courts and broken the law against me by standing on oath.
And where's the accountability? That's the thing, isn't it?
And this is why I campaign, Alex. This is the reason why I campaign. Forced adoption and men not seeing their kids. Parental alienation should be made a criminal offence.
So what I've seen, it's business modelled. It's business modelled by all these organisations, by someone.
It makes money, creates jobs.
Yeah, from the misery of all of our suffering. And it's not like I'm just bitter. I see such a horrible look. I'm actually wearing my old parachute regiment top because it was I haven't worn this for like nearly 3 decades. It was the Remembrance Sunday a couple of days ago, and I've believed in being a soldier to stand up for freedom and fight for what's right. But I don't now believe in going and killing kids in other countries for some businessmen in suits to get richer. But I do believe this is a fight now, which we need to fight because there's so much corruption around our world, in our own government, and it's complicit at every level. Business models and misery and suffering. Like I said, all these suicides every single day. It's generally, I was going to say, it's come back to me what I was going to say to you. Something like the child maintenance service. I'm normally, in my organisation, it's about 90% men. And it's not because I'm sexist. Women do suffer as well, but generally it's men who get their short stick because it's easier for the business modelled operation of CMS, social services, all the way up to the government to attack the men. They've got more money. But the thing is, what I was going to ask, you're on the other foot. You're the man. You've got you're the primary resident carer of your child. So, mum, you need to pay some money, and I'm all about that. So, pay some money, and so your shoes on the other foot. And what I often see, men generally, I don't really see it with women. There are women committing suicide, but
do you know what I said to the maintenance people, Alex? When she had custody before she went to court, I was threatened with prison.
Yeah.
By the maintenance people.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
It's horrendous.
I was threatened with
take your passport away, take your driver's license away, all that stuff.
Well, because I was sweared adamant this baby wasn't mine because I wore a condom, right? I was ordered to go to the doctors, right, or I would be threatened with prison, right, if I didn't go to the doctors and have a test, right? I went to the doctors and I was absolutely mortified that he was mine. Mortified. How can I go to the police? It's my son. It's what I've always wanted. Do you know what I mean? How can I?
And listen, we're talking like you, third person about your son. I'm sure you love him and care for him because from what I know about you, in literally 5 minutes of speaking to you and what I've heard about you, you wouldn't be doing all this. You really care for your child. But what person in their right mind wants to wake up? I've got a son, I've got a child. Hang on a minute. You're going about your own business. You've had the life of Ryan. All of a sudden, what? Hey?
My missus was shocked.
What sort of
my missus wanted to pull her head off.
What sort of fun was that? And what relationship did your missus and this other woman have before and after?
Yeah.
I mean, so they're killing each other?
After they had a fight over it. I had to stop it, Alex. You know what I mean? It's bad. And then she threatened me with her brother, and then I've dealt with that, and then she's threatening me with maintenance, and you're not seeing him, and it become a weapon. The child become a weapon.
And your families as well. Look, I mean, I haven't even talked about you've got a young boy, yeah?
Yeah. JJ, and I've got Misty as well.
And Misty, how old's she?
Misty's 11 today.
Oh, beautiful. Happy birthday.
Thank you so much, Alex.
So, and your relationship is great?
I've been with my missus 20 years.
No, with your boy.
Yeah, it is great. But I do have problems because he's got attachment disorder because of the damage that, I mean, I took my son to the Priory to have a psychiatric assessment when I got given him from the civil courts.
Jack. I don't want you going into much detail about your son because it's, you know, I treat children like I do adults. It's their medical history and all that is confidential.
I wouldn't, she never am. That's the rules. I'm not gagged, she is.
What I'm saying is, I don't care, Jack, I don't care about it. I don't care about you. I'm thinking about the child. The child at some future point may not want this being discussed or out there. So that's why I'm jumping in here. But yeah, I've met Jack and I've met his children, I've met his partner, and I tell you now, those children are just so well balanced. And also, Jack is amazing. I mean, you're talking about he'll convert caravans, kayaks, anything. Those children are never bored. They'll be children if you threw them out in the wilderness at some point in the future, if some disaster happened on Earth. They'd be the two that would survive because he's always got them out and you doing things and learning new things. But what I want you to do is, can you start, if you can, I mean, it's up to you two what you want to talk about, but start talking about how you want to help people. Because I think if there's fathers out there, mothers out there, children out there that you want to help, how are you actually planning on helping these people?
So my first question is like, and listen, this isn't, although I've not heard your story before. on the Bob Reid Foundation, we've got people, I help people, Mackenzie friend them in court and try and steer them. There's so much experience. People say, well, don't do this, do that. What should I do when I get presented with this court order or this document? And we give advice. And we've had a few cases where we've had forced adoption. It's horrendous. What should someone do in the same position as you? Like all of a sudden, like, hang on, they want to take our kids away. We love our kids. What's the first step? We'll talk us through it.
The thing is, Alex, this is why I campaign, because there's forced adoption side of it as well. It's difficult because you're up against Kafkas. When you look at a Kafkas's final statement for court, and you look at psychological assessment and the psychiatric assessment through that process, and you marry that up with the Kafkas worker's final statement of fact and the social worker's final statement of fact, you'll see it's word for word for the psychological and the psychiatric assessment, which shows it's not independent.
And in my experience, I've got to be a little bit careful. I can't say too much.
I went independently to get my assessments. People are told where to go. I went and found my own. And
I'm fascinated by psychology as an athlete, as a fighter. Well, you know, having a better mind makes you a better athlete in any endeavor or in a better whatever. So I'm fascinated by the mind. But having seen some of these psychologists, I'm like, I'm not an expert, but I consider myself intelligent. And I'm like, they're just following, the psychologists are following often a report from someone who doesn't even know you or hasn't even seen you. And I'm like, they're making assumptions. And I mean, like, I'm not a psychologist, but when you're reading, hang on, you've not even done any work. You've seen me once or twice, and you've made this assumption. You haven't even delved into all of these facts here or these facts. Or makes you suspicious.
Here's where the hypocrisy comes in from the state. Now, when you're going through these assessments on forced adoption, these parents are sent sometimes miles away from their family network. Right? Let's not forget future risk of harm. They're sent miles away from their family network into assessment units to be assessed. So they're putting a child around lots of vulnerable people, which is putting a child at immediate risk.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. And
right?
without we talk.
I didn't go to the assessment. I didn't go to
Paedophilia.
the assessment. I refused to go to the assessment unit when I went through it. Yeah. And I said to the social worker, "You tell the judge why I've not gone to the assessment. I'm not going to the assessment unit." And I told the judges, because you're setting me to fail. You're putting my child at immediate risk. So that's the reason why I never went to the assessment unit. And the judge said to me, "You're right, Jack. You did the right thing by not going."
Good.
So, yeah.
Wow. A judge is saying that. So
yes, I've got the judgment. I've got the whole written judgment. I've got it from when I got my kid back. You know, so parts of the case, I was proper commended for what I did and the process I took. Now, it is important for anyone that's going through this, Alex, to keep absolute everything. Post-it notes, letters, appointments. I kept the do not disturb notice for my hotel door. I kept everything. At the time I was going through it, I was able to ask for minutes for meetings, etc. And at that time, they was just willy-nilly giving them out. But little did they know, they was making my case for the civil courts.
Is CAFCAS social services, are they broken, or are there any good people there that are doing good stuff, making good decisions? Or is it they've got not enough money and not enough time, so you just rush through the system as a statistic and a number?
It's not done properly. There's some amazing social workers, because I've met many, even been advocates with helping families through the family courts. I've met quite a few good ones, and I've gained myself a good name with a few. But it's the unprofessional ones that run from council to council when it becomes scrutiny time, accountability time. You get professional avoidance all the time. And it's not about the child.
Here we are, Jack. Let's jump in here 1 second. Talking about social services like that. With the police, I saw this. And I've discussed this with you, Jack, in the past about social services. You'll get a really good one and treat them like gold. A really empathetic, good social worker who's there for all the right reasons. Then you'll get a social worker that's just doing the job to get a wage in. Then you'll get absolutely horrendous power freak people who are just like the police. You can get police officers just on a power trip. That's what they want, and you can get that. But there's also the ever-present horror that social workers face, is that the pressure on them is immense as well. Can be totally immense, but that doesn't excuse some of the terrible social workers, which I used to say when it's in the police, I'm going to report you to your manager now, because that's not what you're doing. It's just totally incompetence and not giving a damn about what's going to happen about this child. So I used to always level that. But yeah, you get good ones, you get bad ones, and you get ones that depends what day they're having. But this paperwork, I wanted to jump on this. It's shocking, which I've heard from people, just how difficult it is to get paperwork from social workers. It can take years to get it from social
workers. Because of me, when you go through a complaints process at the council on a professional, it's just passing the buck of blame. You're complaining to a work engine within the council that answers and deals with scrutiny. And if you're not happy, you can go on to the ombudsman. That's not accountability, is it? It's shocking the amount of professional avoidance you get from professionals.
You got a good decision though, or did you? I mean, it sounds like you got your boy. I mean, you're still getting grief by the sound of it.
I won a forced adoption case against the council, so I beat the top 500 of the bar.
What did you do?
My daughter got taken off me on a forced adoption case, and I won my daughter back. And then I went back into court the next year to get my son.
Did you do it with lawyers, or did you do it yourself?
I've done it with my lawyers, but I instructed my lawyers. We're doing it my way, because if we do it your way, I'm going to hold you to account if my child goes for adoption. So we're doing it my way, and if it goes wrong, I'll accept that. and I'm a firm believer, Alex, you're only a good labourer. You're only a good bricklayer if you've got a good labourer. Same with a scaffolder. You're only a good scaffolder if you've got a good labourer. And it's the same with the barrister. You've only got a good barrister if you're the good labourer. So I done all the homework for the barrister, and it directed me barrister all the way through court with post-it notes when the social worker was on oath and discredited her. A whole statement and the threshold statement.
I'll just stop you there for a second, because I've had I've earned quite a bit of money. I've spent more money than I have on lawyers. And you can get overwhelmed, and like, as you and I wish I'd done what you did right at the beginning and taken the bull by the horns myself. But I had the luxury at the start to have money, and you throw money at money you don't have as well. But when it's your child, your emotions, you'll throw everything and stuff you haven't got. But when you get to the point where you've got no money and you have to do it yourself, you start realizing, I wish I'd done this a lot earlier. But
sorry to say it like this, Alex, and don't take it as an insult, even though I can take a slap. You know what I mean? But it's men like you and everybody else that's seen as walking wallets to the government, and that's just the way it is. Well, and it's not right. Yeah. Mate, do you know what I mean? I've got a solution for this.
I never had serious money. I'm from a working class family. I made a few quid, and I could have. But it almost ruined me, not just financially, spiritually, physically, and physically. I wanted to go many times, and I've had all sorts of therapy and counselling, and that's why I help other people now. But I mean, it's scary, and I'm like, you feel like, what can I do? And you're coerced by, as a walking wallet. You kind of, they say all the big words, and let's be real. They have the legal system. They have a higher IQ, intelligence. I wouldn't say wisdom, but they have better intelligence. They know the system. They talk in a language that we can't understand. I'm like, what does that mean? I mean, like, and I'm reasonably intelligent, and I'm all about being fair and what tie you up in knots. So you want to throw more money. Sorry,
it's bomb from the claptrap.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. So but you did it yourself. That's good for you. I mean,
twice. Hey, top 500 of the bar I beat, Alex, twice.
Great.
The local authorities barrister smashed the life out of him.
Jack. So, you're not in the streets. You don't have to shout. He does this, Alex. He shouts. He thinks he's still on a megaphone.
I like being told off my hand. It's the thrust passion.
But can average Joe do that? Because I mean, I'm like, can I do that? I mean, that Jack's got something special. He must be really intelligent. He must have studied, or he's got a good to the gab. I'm not like that. How can I do this?
The thing is, Alex, if people do it properly and jump through the right hoops, it can be done. No one's perfect. Nobody. And I just think that all the time the system's the way it is, it's going to create jobs for the snobs, and it's going to move money, and everything's affected.
So let's talk about that, right? Because I run the Bob Reid Foundation, and I have spent everything I've got and got myself to the point where was in serious debt with lawyers. And now I advise people not to use lawyers. There is a time. I haven't had so many bad experiences with lawyers, but there is a time where that you get the right lawyer, but you got to and that's the thing, getting the right lawyer. So
can I tell you
really
something,
lucked up, please?
Because I've beat for a council, and I'm on the verge of bankrupting Liverpool City Council, right? But what it is that I can go in. I could go into any family court as a legal if I was qualified and win every case against the local authority, because I won my case. Now they're goddamn not, right? I can prove that the system is molestation, and it is actually molesting the Acts and Statutes of Parliament and the Mental Capacity Act, etc. These are Acts of Parliament, yeah. We've got codes of practice and clarification for Acts of Parliament. Now, the social care system goes against them Acts of Parliament. the judiciary system, the family courts, they know these councils meet threshold failing kids. The law's future risk of harm. They're taking children on future risk of harm, yet you're taking the kids off the grassroots families and putting them into failing councils what are skimmed. And they meet threshold of failing kids to the point where they die. So you're a hypocritical judiciary. If I'm a social worker and I take your child, I'm setting compulsion upon you as the state. How can I possibly tell you you're in a legal battle as well as saying, I'm going to assess you? That's like breaking your arm, Alex, and saying, let's have a fight in the family courts.
Yeah.
You can't, there's no impact statement done for any separation of children.
No, you're very
the impact
clever.
It has.
I mean,
I've had to be, Alex. I mean, I've had a lot of influence.
Were you academic at school?
No, Alex, I was abused. I've had my childhood stolen and I campaign for it today.
Where did
Liverpool
you learn
City.
where did you learn to I mean, did you not find this overwhelming? Fighting like
due diligence, my own due diligence. Also, I've been wrapped around the cabinet, don't forget. I mean, I was around the Tory cabinet in 2015, so I learned a lot there. But I didn't know I was being attacked.
What were you doing there in 2015?
I stood in the election in 2015 in Thurrock to be a ward councillor.
Right.
So I was around Theresa May, Liz Truss, William Hague, Grant Shapps. I was around all that lot. I had to take Chris Grayling into the council. Sorry?
Got to explain something here, right. That's why he has to be careful when you come to Liverpool, don't you, Jack? A Tory, a Scouse Tory, they don't exist.
I'm not a Tory. I'm on the point of breaking the camel's back with just the straw with the Tories because they're involved in a crime against humanity, taking my child for adoption. It was the MP that got the court date for the council to take my kid. She shouldn't be getting involved, Alex. I can prove this beyond reasonable doubt. You know, through a counsellor, through the head of children's services. I've got the emails that was being sent backwards and forwards. I've got it all. So this is why I campaign. So the social workers that were stood on oath to try and adopt my children, they ignored the police. The police told the social workers I was fine. And the social workers stood on oath and said, I'm a threat to national security. I'm a cage fighter. I'm not a cage fighter, Alex. I pumped my dog with steroids. Oh, mate, honestly, I've done a bit of fighting to control my aggression. I believe letting it out and talking about it is letting it out.
But even if you're a cage fighter, so what? I mean, that's painting like cage fighters are all thugs. The cage fighters are athletes.
They try to label me.
Yeah, but that's the worst label. It's not. That's a great label. I'm a cage fighter. I mean, doesn't mean I'm a. If someone wants to challenge me on that, I will. Does that what you're trying to say? I'm a thug? Because au contraire, I detest violence. You know, but and I don't consider what I do violent. But we're going down a different off track. I'm astounded at what you've done.
Of all sorts.
Sorry?
Because I'm a failed kid of the care system, I knew what social services were like. So I knew the minute they got involved, I knew exactly what to do. So and at the time, the system.
You've seen that, like the latest film, in the Sound of Freedom.
I don't watch telly, Alex. Honestly,
it went viral. It's all around the world. The Jim Caviezel and I think Mel Gibson's behind it as well. Basically, talking about how rife the paedophilia is. It's the biggest business in the world now. I think it's not as big as war. It's just under war. War is the biggest business, and then it's paedophilia. It's ridiculous.
Well, I campaign for all paedophiles to go off to the NHS labs on a points-based system to cure children's diseases.
Wait. Yeah, on YouTube.
Right. Can't talk about
this. People are considered amazing as it is. I think Spence said this shit last time, Alex. Those type of people are starting to be given special characteristics. So if you start talking about them in a negative way on YouTube or Twitter, you can get in trouble, which is a disgrace. But just you have to say things. Say speedo.
Yeah.
Then you can get.
But why I bring that up, and I won't even mention. You know, I bring up the people that are vampires, children vampires. let's call them that. Is it? Am I watched too many David Icke films and conspiracy films, or is it? Is there a, in your opinion, is there something more sinister going on where the authorities are all making a few quid? I'm not saying they're getting adrenochrome, torturing these kids and doing all that, but maybe. What do you think? What's going on?
I'm from the forced adoption world, so it's hard for me to talk like that because I don't want to mentally abuse my followers. Right? Yeah. I've been down the rabbit hole, but I can tell you from expert by experience that Lower Lee boarding school, where I suffered all my abuse for 7 years, all forms of abuse for 7 years, right? The person who was deputy head of care had criminal convictions against children, mental health problems, and no qualifications, and he was given deputy head of care of a boys' boarding school. They led that monster to the lambing shed and locked the door on us, Alex. When I come out of the care system, they fed me to the wolves, mate, and now I'm coming back, leader of the pack, and they don't like it, right? So who employed this guy, this monster? And this other undesirable who was taking lots and lots of pictures of the boys in all kinds of different positions, in swimming complexes, etc. Me being one of them boys. Now I shout for these boys, Alex, over 100 boys, right, well up and over, right? There's still boys coming to me today, grown men, hard men. Some of them are faces of cities with serious problems, and they've closed the door on it. Now I'm shining a light on it. I'm healing these guys. You know, I'm healing them. There's light at the end of the tunnel for them. They've all gone on to beat themselves up all their lives, and we're being held for their failings.
And it is my question is still going on, yeah.
The school's been shut down.
No, but
all the teachers in the school who knew about what was going on, who didn't say anything, are still working with the council.
But is it going on in other?
It could well be. It could well be, Alex.
It is.
You know.
It is. Let's just put it this way. It is.
I've got to go find it.
Jack, wait a minute.
Good.
Right. It is going on, and this is what I've been saying since 2012, around that area. It's always going on. It will never stop going on. It's just the tip of the iceberg. When news breaks out like something like the BBC, and I can tell you now, I know, I've told you before, I was threatened by the BBC to keep my mouth shut when I tried to get an investigation into what was going on in certain places. It's going on, and it's covered up. And then what happens, it's the sort of like 15-year cycle. What you'll hear this big scandal over it. This has happened to children. The papers get all the money from it. People think they're going to be famous by, oh yeah, and all this. I'm a saint and all this. Then they don't give a damn about looking around what's happening now. And then 15 years on, 20 years on, another whole gaggle of adults come forward and say, this was happening to us at the very time you were campaigning, and no one was interested, because it wasn't getting the press. It will never stop going on. It's always.
And it will. It will. We have to believe that. We have to. We have to change this evil.
You can. What you've got to do, and this is the things that's going to happen. It's the very people at the core of it, which I predicted. I won't go on too much because this isn't about what I did. But as I said, during the VIP. John, the VIP scandal and all that in Parliament and all this business, I was warning them. I said, you're being led down an alleyway here. This isn't a real attempt to try and solve the situation. Those very people, and I've said this before, those very people who were going on, oh, I was abused. They were talking about, yeah, you've got to solve cases that are 30, 40 years old. But when I said to them, what about the children now that are going through it? The result was, oh, we'll get to them when we've sorted all this out. So I knew then it was lost. This is finished. And that's exactly what happened. But I'll get out the way.
It's mental, Alex. I mean, There's parts of this country I don't visit in case I bump into these teachers. Do you know what I mean? They've done damage. I'm talking about being locked in classrooms, having tables and chairs thrown at you. I could go into detail. You know, Alex, I learned to take a good hiding when I was a kid from the age of 5. Do you know what I mean? I left the care system. I couldn't trust a professional. And I was so horrible towards the police that was there to protect me. And I went in prison. You know, prison, when I got to prison at the age of 15, that was the time in my life when I was able to relax as a child. I went out my way to go to prison. I was telling social care, I don't care, I'm going to prison. I was a joyrider, Alex. I go and look for the police and take chase. I don't care, I'm going to prison anyway. All my mates are there. I'll be happy. And when I got to prison, that was when I was finally able to relax. As a child at 15, I haven't been loved by my mum and dad. I haven't opened presents and blew out birthday candles and all this kind of stuff. I've missed all that. And to this day, I've only got my 2 kids and my missus. That's all I got. So every...
Hello? Hello? You've frozen. I'm in, Jack.
Yeah.
Hello?
You're frozen, Jack.
It's so sad, Dan. It's so...
I mean, I go with expert by experience.
He's back. Go on. So we lost you for a second, Jack. We just lost you. We got to the point where you went to prison and it was like a holiday compared to what was going on, and then you froze.
Yeah, and then I got out of prison, and then obviously, you know, I was left to my own devices. I was 16, you know, and I got into the rave scene, and I always elevated myself around the wrong type of people, you know, and I thought, I can't do this, you know. I went to prison for handling stolen goods, and then obviously I kept myself to myself, stayed in work all the time, being a scaffolder, got with me missus, and then bang, social services come in and tried to hold me to account for saying I've got all these labels, but I've got this because of how you treated me as a kid in the boarding school. So you're holding me to account by fostering me, by adopting me child because of your own failings. I'm from the care system. You failed me and neglected me in duty of care.
Do you think these social workers, and I'm not saying the ones that you've experienced, I'm not saying every social worker is bad, because there are some really great ones. But the but is there seems to be a lot of bad ones. Do you think they have a conscience? What's their they're just trying to do the job quickly as possible and they don't really care? Is it like someone who loves animals and they have to work in a slaughterhouse, and after about a year of slaughtering animals, they become blasé about slitting an animal's throat to kill it for the butchers? Is it like that in social services? They just get desensitized to everything.
I'm going to answer you the question in 2 parts, right? The first part is Epstein.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Paedophilia.
Wait a minute.
Horror films.
Wait a minute. What are we going on to this subject for? I can't wait. This is what happens, Jack. You go on to, I said, don't go on to a subject which isn't relevant to the work you're doing. How is that man associated to this? It's not. So where
are all the kids going from the care system, man?
Well, I'm sure they're not going to him. I think
can you honestly say, Anne, have you ever watched one of them horror films? No child is that good of an actor.
What horror films?
When you see horror films and there's children in these horror films, how are these children that good of actors to be in that hysteric condition?
I've never watched I wouldn't watch a film like that, Jack.
Social services. Let's get back onto social services.
Yeah, get back onto social services because you're going way off the mark that what you should be talking about.
A social worker will do it from the goodness of their heart. You've got other social workers that do it for a bonus, and it's called saving a child. So they go above and beyond on future risk to get that bonus. Now, the younger the child, the bigger the bonus. I went into a counsellor with £18,000 cash, Alex, because I heard that social workers were getting £18,000 for adopting kids. My baby was 4 weeks old, taken off the breast of the woman I love, right? I got £18,000 together, and I went and contacted the counsellor and said, here's £18,000, give it to the social worker, can I have my child back? And do you know what this counsellor said to me? You can't, you're in court process. So I had to go to court and fight it.
That seems it? You just that's it. That's the answer. They're incentivized. I haven't fact checked this for the record, and I'll do some due diligence. But this is what I was asking that question, before we went off on Epstein. I understand what Jack's saying, and I get it. So basically, what my point was, there's an incentivization by the system to put people into care because cha-ching, certain people are profiting. And why that's happening, you're never going to get justice, because degrees of human beings who don't really care, oh, I really care about that child, we've got to take him off that bad person who's a loving dad or mum. Cha-ching. That's the real reason. Isn't it? Is that what we're saying?
Now you've got care homes who take in children because it's the care system, yeah? You've got care homes refusing children because they're a cost. They're going to be a burden to the money within the care home. So they'll take on children that are easily manageable.
I'm not following. I don't get that, because sure, the care home gets money from the government for taking
private ones, on. Yeah, so if they'll take children that haven't got big needs, the easy manageable children. The children that have got lots of problems, they find it hard to place.
So where do they go?
Secure units with medication.
Yeah.
County lines.
I've seen
selling
that.
drugs, and the police have to come in and pick them all up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You've got the girls that are taking up sex industry jobs and being abused.
Yeah.
Our English roses of this country and our English lions of this country massively suffering deep within the secure units, because that's where I'm from, Alex. Don't tell me it don't go on. When you've got a service that's got 8 professionals jumping on one young lad, your service has failed because you're leaving marks.
You're
creating monsters. You're creating monsters in the care system by what you're doing as a service.
Alex,
I'm involved with some young ladies, well, they're our age, in Essex. I won't say their names yet because I don't, but I'd say briefly, skirt around it. But they've had their children taken off them, put into a care home in Essex, and they committed suicide. They said the amount of suicide is endemic in rife across the country. These children in care homes. I don't know what your experience with that is. Children committing suicide.
I've made attempts in my life.
At the profit and misery, it's horrendous. People profiting at the misery and suffering. How is that? Yeah.
Well,
we have to change this.
It went on years ago, Alex, because obviously these kids, they get arrested, they go to prison, and back in the day, they used to send them to Medhamsley.
What's that? I don't know what that is. What's that?
Medhamsley it's now known as Hassickfield in Durham, a young offenders institution, where Medhamsley, all the young lads, mainly from the care system with mental health problems, no one believed, who allegedly committed suicide, but they was being abused because no one had ever listened to them, and they committed suicide. And the people within the establishment going to prison for what they've done, but not on the magnitude of what they should have gone to prison for.
What's up? What do you mean? They get a slap on the wrist sort of sentence rather than a serious sentence?
They didn't go to prison for what don't we know? Who didn't come forward? Do you know what I mean? They was bang at it at Medhamsley. You know, all you new people that came in, you had to go through the kitchens as you were introduced, and that was your job. You go and work in the kitchens, underwear and all that underneath your whites, brushing past you, all that kind of carry on. I didn't go there myself, but it's all out there, Alex. It's all dialogue for me to use. That the system has been broken for years, being manipulated and abused by wrong-uns.
So what do we do to stop this? I mean, Anne's not as hopeful. I have to have hope. We have to make a stand to protect children and stop this horrible abomination carrying on. What do we do?
I've got solution for the whole system, Alex. And it's sensible, a costed solution. Keeping money within the service, and it's draining the swamp of the bad professionals, building on the good professionals. Because it's not fair on these good professionals having to cope with that kind of workload. It's become too much for the social workers. The bed blocking that's been going on in the hospitals, again, it's putting a massive strain on the social services because there's not enough old people's homes to place these old people. So the social services are being fined by the governing body from the NHS, and that comes from the social care budget. So not only has the workload gone up, the budget money's coming down. And then a knock-on effect from that, you've got police officers running around doing social worker jobs, carrying out welfare checks to social workers with no extra cost from the social care budget for the police. So we've got police running around. Is this anything to do with
immigration? With there's not enough money. I mean,
we can't blame immigration.
Right, wait a minute.
We can't blame that, Alex.
What I'm going to do now you've got the 3D IMAX film described. How do you actually get to the IMAX 3D film? Because it's all right seeing the bigger vision, but you've got to chunk it down, haven't you? Or chunk it up, whichever way you want to go. So how do you actually start the first step on the ladder? That's what I want to hear. The two you say, not just Jack, not just the two of you. What are your first steps? And don't go on. And then I want to hear what the first. I'm a business manager. I'm going to invest money in your campaign. Tell me now what's the first thing you're going to do to get on the road?
Sit down and sensibly talk about a solution, which I've got and could be added to, and then put it out there. Put it out there that we need to raise a light on this and come together because we've got a solution.
I'm not interested because you haven't proved to me as an investor that you've got the solution. Where's your evidence that you've got the solution? I want to touch this solution. Give it to me in my hands. Then
all right.
The thing is, Dan, if we've got an assessment unit in this country, right, that does judicial reviews, serious case reviews, public inquiries, psychological assessments, psychiatric assessments, parental assessments, all the assessments going, right? Money stays in the service. So all that money drained, all that money obtained from assessments, you could supply an impact centre.
Still not telling me how you're going to do it. How you're going to get there? Hey, Red Alex, go on. Did you want to say something?
Right. Okay. Here we go. The pen is mightier than the sword, or what's even mightier these days is film. An idea why I an actor, a darling, a thespian, go want to change the world. What, with a gun? That's one way of doing it, and bombs, but much more powerful to influence people. Propaganda, positive propaganda, films. So how we change societies, we start talking about this. What we're doing right now, we're raising awareness. This is, I don't know how many people we're hit with this, but I mean, in the social demographic of how many people will see this film. But I've thought about it long and hard. We have to do and I don't agree with them. I think they were a criminal organisation, Black Lives Matter. But what they did do, they got people around the world taking the knee and talking about what had gone on. We need to do something like that, and we do that by I talked also just about a film, The Sound of Freedom. We need to make a film, several films, which show the degradation and the abomination of what this business modelled, disgusting organisation, and it is an organisation. I don't know who's at the top. I'm going to get all conspiracy theory on you for a second. If it's the ruling elites purposely doing it to divide and conquer us, but we create a film, several films, and we promote, we talk, we do podcasts, shows, and we create a movement which educates people. Because when the people of the world understand what's going on, we can then lobby government, which costs money. We need to lobby, but there's no point lobbying at the moment. We need to get the whole of society behind us.
But the thing is, Alex, I'm going to say to what I said to Jack. I'm not interested in that. I want to see this. Where's your script?
I've got a script. I've got a script. I've got a script.
And so you get the film made.
Yeah.
You're guaranteed that what distribution company will take it on?
Well, if you've got money, I've got a very controversial,
I'm a bank manager. I've got money. I'm not going to give.
You can't take your eyes. You can't take your eyes off it. You don't. It's the sort of thing you see. Like, I don't want to watch this, but you end up watching it, and it's going to draw. It's going to pull this. It's going to pull this. It's going to pull this. What's that? Third eye. It's going to wake you up. Go, shit, what's going on? What's going on in the world?
I'm going to be brutal with you here. I want to see about dinosaurs when I go to cinema. I want to see the next Star Wars. I want to see that. I don't want to be told how other people are having it miserable.
Well, there's lots of people who do. You might not, but I can tell you that I can say, and this is my bag. I'm in the film business. I could tell you, let's look at The Sound of Freedom. It's a horrible film, but so amazing. It's not a nice film to watch, but you cannot stop watching it because it draws on things which are going on in all our society, all around us forever. And you're like, very clever. Everyone's talking about it, everyone. And it's the Hollywood elite don't want it out there because it's so dangerous to the Hollywood elite. I've got a little terrorist who's just come in a room.
Can I ask you a personal question, Alex?
Yes.
What kind of upbringing did you have?
1 second. Mummy, could you take baby girl?
I think you're going to have to wait until next time.
Say that again, Jack. Say that again, Jack. What was your question?
What kind of upbringing did you have? Was it from the age of like 5?
I was very lucky. I'm the baby of 6. I had nothing but love. I was allowed to be what I wanted to be. My dad was fought in a war. He was a pacifist, and when I was about 13, I discovered he was a paratrooper. Oh my God, he was a boxing champion, fought in the war. He was a badass. And I'm like, oh, hang on. All I was surrounded by was art, books, culture.
So what we've got between us is the flip side to the coin.
But with that, I mean, I think I mentioned this around the other day. I went to school around 9, and someone said the N word about a black kid, and I come home and I said, "And this and that," and my dad went, "What?" He wiped out any trace of racism in me in that moment, and explained to me about human beings and how we're all one and blah blah. Anyway, he was my hero. So yeah, you're right. And I was like, my dad. But from that young age, I had such a great upbringing. So I had a responsibility. It wasn't just about having fun. We've got to do good stuff on this planet, and look after our brother and sisters.
Well, my dad was a showman, so he was really strict. Oh. Alex is gone.
Sorry,
I think what it is, there's something going on. But yeah, I think what it is, Jack, is it's getting to that foundation work and getting that actually getting the foundation down there. I think this is what can be frustrating because I'm being brutally honest here. I've said this to Alex last time, and Jamie, and I've said this to you in the past. It can be frustrating because the impetus there. You've had a lot of success, Jack. No one can deny that. Your track record is absolutely brilliant. You've had
every time I've gone in the civil courts, I've had a result.
Good. But the thing is, it's got to get to that this is the starting point, and we start moving out from there. I'm not seeing the little starting point, but that will come. I reckon that will come very quickly, the starting point. And that's what I'm saying, Alex. Once the starting point is there, then you go out. But Jack has had huge success. And so I can't turn around and say, oh, well, Jack is getting it wrong, because he's proven to me he's getting it right again and again and again. So I'm not going to dish on that. But do you want to have another live sometime, and this time actually talk about how to move forward with this and get it sorted out? Because we've talked about backgrounds, haven't we?
We'll talk offline, and then we'll come back. We'll talk offline, and then we'll come back and we'll show you our master plan. I just got a couple of questions though, just before, and thank you guys. I have to leave. I've got a few minutes, but I've got to go off. But so Jack, I'm really intrigued what you're doing. Do you have a Mackenzie friend, other people in the same situation in court?
Without being a big head, and I'm a bit above that on intelligence. So what a Mackenzie friend knows, I know and more, because I've experienced it and come out the other side. So I've done what no one else has done. But it'd be nice to talk to you properly offline, Alex, and meet you, and then we can come back and do a good one.
100%, and we will, because I've got lots of people who would love your advice, and I'll pass this on to my various groups. I'm a member of several groups, trying to bring them all together, because we need to be a conglomerate. We're stronger together.
As long as we go forward, no one's the chief. Do you know what I mean? We'll get there. If there's no ego, we'll get there. If we stay on the model high ground, we'll get there.
1,000,000%. It's exactly, 100%. We just to stop this evil. So you don't. Your question is you don't represent people.
I do help people in the family courts.
Yeah.
I've got a good name from some of the judges in Essex.
This one's saying, Alex, Jack has helped a lot of people. That's why you can't turn around and say, oh, he's not successful in what he does. Whatever he does is works, but he has. That one impressed me. He's helped them.
I get kids out the care system, I stop adoptions, and I help men. I've helped men get access to their children, and I have shared the local authorities' concerns in the past in some cases. Because I've read some paperwork where serious injuries of children, even children dying, and there's no justice for the children.
No.
So I campaign for that.
I unfortunately, or fortunately, let's look at it as positive, because it was a positive in many ways. I went to prison a few years ago for contempt of court. I got 8 weeks, only did 4 weeks, and it was such an eye-opener. I mean, I treated it as a boot camp. It was scary. But what I saw in there, was people, and just for the record, I don't have a criminal record. I wasn't criminally convicted. I was civilly committed, which I don't understand. I mean, I can get it overturned, but about fighting battles, it's not a battle I can even be bothered to fight now. What I saw in prison was people in the system who shouldn't be in there. All they needed was more love. And it's like, I felt so sorry for them, and I wanted to help them, but I mean, I've got to try and help myself as well. What's that thing about charity? You've got to help yourself, otherwise you become the charity. But all I saw is these people in there need so much more love. And I see what has happened to them through their life, talking to them, and it's so sad. And it's like, we've got so many people who are, I'd say...
You know how much money they make, Alex? People in prison, do you want me to tell you how much money they make? Millions. It's costs they're on around £40,000 a year to keep them in prison.
Yeah.
When they're in prison, they're saying, "Oh, this is about you. We're working out where you've gone wrong. If you do this, like health hygiene certificates, this kind of test, that kind of test."
Business,
and the staff within are helping you do that to get outcomes, so they get paid, so they generate more money within the prison. And all these IPP prisoners in prison, I shouldn't even be in prison, Alex.
Yeah.
Going well over their tariff.
And listen, I can see why people commit crime, because I'm shameless plug, in the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th of December, I'm sleeping homeless in London to raise awareness and get a few quid for the Bob Reid Foundation so I can help more people. And what happens, unfortunately, it's not about homeless people per se, because there's lots of homeless reasons why people become homeless. But in the in the whole family court, CMS, Kafka system, so many parents become homeless with these false arrears that are put on them by Kafka, money they don't owe and they can't afford to pay. They have to sell their houses. They end up on the streets. And I'm like, I just want to. It's not like I'm doing it. I'm doing it in the mindset of I've lost everything and I've got nothing. You imagine that all of a sudden you've got a loving family and you're kicked out of the house, and you have to sell the house, and then you're kicked on the street. So we're going to raise money and awareness for that So I'll be shouting about that more over the next few weeks. But I'm lucky. I get to go home at the end of it. Lots of people don't. So I mean, it's a bit like when I went to prison. It was anyone can handle 4 weeks. Yeah, it's not pleasant. It's not pleasant, but it was a real social experiment. And do you know how I really looked at it as an eye opener? I'm in a smart suit in court. This is fine. I'm not going. And on the next minute, I'm in a bus driving to Pentonville with like handcuffs on. I'm like, what's going on? But the whole thing was an experience. And I'm innocent. What's going on? I'm innocent. And halfway through it, I had this epiphany. Listen, I'm very lucky because in my life, I'm not dead. Well, I happen to be in prison. I always used to say I'm not in prison, but and I have done wrong. So, and I believe in a higher force. You call it God, the universe, whatever. In the spiritual laws of the universe, where they have court, they're never wrong. And I'm very lucky to have not been to prison before, but I've done all sorts of weird and wonderful things. I'm a good guy in my heart, but there's things that, so I think let's use this as a time to be a better human being, to repent I thought, okay, so let's do that. So I come out and I treated it as a spiritual boot camp. And everyone thinks you do that. Yeah, well, I don't recommend everyone go to prison, but do a point where you think, well, I've done wrong here. I mean, I go to church regularly now because about trying to be a better human being. You don't have to go to church. You can do what you want. I'm not trying to preach Christianity or any religion on anyone, but it's about wanting to be a better human being for the world.
It's about separating the thoughts and the feelings and eating properly, fresh.
Yeah.
And I think that if everybody who are on these hard paths in their lives, Alex, and they've been through really hard times, to turn that around for the benefit and use it as expert by experience. How did you feel at that time in process? How did you feel when you got that outcome? What did you do to cope? What coping mechanisms have you got? Expert by experience. Many people have gone through so many bad things. They're the people that should be running our broken system. Expert by experience. Because the power of reflection is huge.
Oh,
let's learn from them.
When people say, oh, I won't trust them, they've done this and they've done that, and I'm like, well, they're the best person for the job. I mean, as long as they've repented, as long as they've seen the error of their ways, or sometimes, and people are wrongly accused of things, like maybe their reputations are tarnished because of that. But we live in such a blooming society where airs and graces, and people look down their nose at you if you come from a certain demographic, or you've done this or you've done that. I'm like, hang on, let's not judge a book by its covers until you've actually read it.
Yeah, I just think that, if you practice to become good, eventually you'll become good. No one's perfect, so as long as we go with our thoughts and our feelings and do the right thing and help each other, and come with a sensible solution that we're all going to benefit from, because we're revolutionising service, sensibly keeping money within service, draining the swamp of the bad professionals and build on the good before they leave. I believe in that. You know, so yeah, I think if I had the chance to meet up with you, Alex, and we can go over and I can tell you everything, and then we don't have to talk about it online, and we can just go forward on solutions. You know.
I'll try and get up to Liverpool before the end of the year.
Well,
I'm in Essex.
Essex? Oh, yeah. With Towie.
Yeah, not far. I'm about 3 miles from Brentwood.
Oh, I used to live in Brentwood. That's another story. We won't go there.
That's why, Alex, that's why he's been away from Liverpool so long. He actually dared to go near a Tory council MP. I mean, if he was in Liverpool for any period of time, we have natural aversion. We have a natural aversion to Tories, so we wouldn't be. We come out in hives if we go near them or want them to come near us. But anyway, I thought that was absolutely brilliant to did, and we have to have another follow-up. But great if you two can get together and start actually.
Yeah, I'll grab your number off Anne, and I've got another meeting, so I have to love you and leave you, gentlemen. Yeah. But it's been a pleasure. Let's all chat again. I'll get your number, Jack, and then we can converse on WhatsApp.
Brilliant. Yeah. Oh, that's great. So see you guys and everyone in the chat, and thank you. I'll leave everyone with this for my beautiful, beautiful moderator, Kelsey, who turned up. So